Behind every locked door lies a story the world was never meant to hear. Welcome to Behind Bars TV, where we uncover the hidden realities of the world's toughest prisons, untold inmate experiences, and the systems built to contain them. From Supermax facilities to forgotten penitentiaries, we reveal the truth behind concrete walls and razor wire. This is not fiction. This is the world behind bars. There's a place the government doesn't want you to think about, where light is measured, silence is weaponized, and time simply stops. They call them Supermax prisons, high-tech fortresses built not just to contain violence, but to erase it from the public eye. The most secure prison in the United States. Inmates locked 23 hours a day. No one has ever escaped. But behind the concrete and cameras lies another truth, one the public was never meant to see. This is the story of how America built a hidden world, where silence replaces justice, and control has no limits. The birth of control. It began in the 1980s. A time when American prisons were bursting at the seams. Gang wars, riots, and killings turned the system into chaos. At Marion Federal Penitentiary, Illinois, 2 officers were murdered on the same day, October 22, 1983. It was the moment the government decided to end chaos by building a prison designed for total control. Out of that fear came a concept, the control unit. Prisoners were no longer to be managed. They were to be neutralized. No sunlight, no sound, no movement without permission. A place built not to rehabilitate, but to contain. And in 1994, that idea reached its ultimate form. The ADX Florence Federal Supermax Prison, a $60 million monument to isolation, buried in the Colorado desert. The new era of prisons had begun, not to punish crime, but to perfect control. The architecture of silence. On paper, ADX Florence looked like a masterpiece of modern engineering, a place so secure that even sound had boundaries. Every detail was calculated, from the cell dimensions to the color of the lights. Here, isolation wasn't punishment. It was policy. Each cell was a self-contained world. A toilet, a desk, a concrete bed, and a window angled toward nothing. You can see the sky, but never the horizon. Technology replaced guards. Behavior was tracked by sensors and pattern analysis. Conversations were limited to minutes, sometimes seconds. It wasn't just a prison. It was a laboratory, where the subject was the human mind, the human experiment. The Bureau of Prisons called it behavioral management. Critics called it psychological warfare. At ADX and other Supermaxes, like Pelican Bay, California, and Red Onion, Virginia, prisoners spent 23 to 24 hours a day in total isolation. No physical contact, no education, no programs, no touch from another human being. The question wasn't how to control behavior. It was how long the human mind could survive without it. Over the years, psychologists began reporting strange effects. Men hallucinating voices, speaking to walls, mutilating themselves. Inmates called it the box. Guards called it the tomb. One doctor compared Supermax confinement to prolonged sensory deprivation, a slow-motion psychological death. You can lock a man's body, but when you lock his mind, you break something far deeper. The silent order. Inside every Supermax, there's an unwritten law, spoken only in whispers and training rooms. They call it the silent order. No conversation with inmates beyond necessity. No eye contact longer than 3 seconds. No emotion. No sympathy. You don't talk. You don't listen. You observe. Human contact is the first freedom they remove, and the last one they give back. Eyes everywhere. Every Supermax cell is a surveillance chamber. Cameras never switch off. Microphones record even the sound of breathing. In ADX Florence, technicians analyze inmate movement with AI software known internally as Eagle Eye. It maps behavior, pacing patterns, time spent on toilet, rate of speech. If your routine changes by 10 seconds, the system flags you. To the outside world, this is safety. Inside its omniscience. Nothing unseen. Nothing unheard. In a place with no windows, the only thing that sees you is the state. The lawsuits they buried. Few stories ever leave Supermax walls. When they do, they arrive in the language of lawsuits. In 1995, inmates filed the first major suit against ADX Florence, claiming inhumane conditions. In 2007, another followed after a wave of suicides. The government's response? Deny access. Settle quietly. Seal the records. Justice is slow inside Supermax. Sometimes it never leaves the cell. The incidents they denied. For years, the Bureau of Prisons insisted there were no riots at ADX. No attacks. No failures. But whistleblowers told a different story. There were no riots because there was no one left to riot. These incidents were erased before the public ever heard them. Official reports called them maintenance disruptions. Truth is a luxury in a place built to bury it. The program. Inmates who survive years of isolation face a final test, the step-down program. A 4-stage system designed to reintroduce social behavior. Stage 1, total isolation. Stage 2, controlled conversation. Stage 3, limited group exercise. Stage 4, transfer to a less restrictive unit. Freedom isn't given. It's earned through obedience. Critics say the program is conditioning, not rehabilitation. A way to reward submission and punish independence. When a system teaches silence, speaking is a crime. The suicides they couldn't hide. Between 2000 and 2020, dozens of Supermax inmates took their own lives. Some used bedsheets. Others bit through their wrists with plastic spoons. Official reports called them isolated incidents. But a pattern emerged. Each victim had requested mental health care weeks earlier. They weren't invisible. They were ignored. Families sued. Judges demanded investigations. The answers were always the same. Procedures were followed. In Supermax language, that means no one is to blame. The whistleblowers. Not everyone could stay silent. A handful of insiders risked everything to tell the truth. Guards, nurses, contractors, and psychologists. They spoke of understaffing, cover-ups, and ghost inmates. Men moved off the record to hide suicides or attacks. Some called them heroes. The system called them liars. Many lost their jobs. Some disappeared from public life entirely. When you expose a machine built on silence, it finds a way to silence you. The ghost wing. Guards whisper about a section not found on any map. E-unit. No roster. No noise. Prisoners vanish there after assaults or political conflicts. They call it the ghost wing, a place where paperwork ends, but sentences continue. No journalists ever enter. Records show maintenance area, yet cameras flicker on infrared at 3 a.m. Some ex-officers claim foreign detainees once held their post, 9/11. In a prison built to hold the worst of America, even secrets have solitary. The experiment files. In the 2000s, academics quietly partnered with the Bureau of Prisons to study behavioral effects of extreme isolation. They measured cortisol, dream patterns, language decay. Officially, it was research. Unofficially, it was observation of collapse. Inmates were never told they were part of a study. Reports were published in neutral language. Subject experienced affective blunting. Translated. The subject stopped feeling. Digital silence. By 2015, Supermaxes upgraded to total digital control. Every door, light, and flush runs through a secure network known as the loop. If a prisoner screams, microphones translate decibels into alerts. If two voices sync, alarms trigger. The algorithm decides what counts as disturbance and what counts as human. One former engineer said the system could replay 10 years of sound from any cell. A time machine of misery. Project Reflection. To test rehabilitation, officials launched Project Reflection, forcing inmates to record daily video journals about remorse. Psychologists watched for emotion cues. Tear, tremor, hesitation. It wasn't confession. It was calibration. Some inmates broke down. Others performed guilt for privileges. The footage vanished into classified archives. The legal wall. Every attempt to reform isolation meets the same phrase: national security exception. The Federal Bureau claims revealing procedures could endanger staff. Human rights lawyers argue secrecy is the danger itself. Between justice and security stands a wall of redaction ink. Exported blueprints. From Colorado to Brazil, from South Africa to Australia, Supermax designs spread worldwide. Training manuals, sensors, and control unit philosophy sold as American correctional excellence. We exported not freedom, but architecture of fear. The voices return. Men who survived years in the box now speak publicly, slow, deliberate, blinking at light. They describe learning to talk again, to trust again. They came out alive, but never whole. Some advocate for abolishing isolation entirely. Others still wake at 3 a.m. when a metal door slams in memory. Inside the warden's office, even those who ran these prisons carry ghosts. One warden admits off camera, "We were told to keep the country safe. Nobody told us it would cost our souls." Control changes the controlled and the controller. The psychology of silence. Scientists confirm what inmates said for decades. The brain rewires in solitude. Memory distorts. Empathy fades. Impulse grows. Supermax didn't end violence. It internalized it. The final secret. The greatest secret isn't hidden in files or blueprints. It's the idea that such places exist, and most people accept them. Voiceover, slow, haunting. We built cities of silence and called them justice. What you just saw is more than a story. It's a reality lived by thousands behind bars. If you believe in uncovering the truth, the kind hidden behind concrete walls and silence, then join us. Subscribe to Behind Bars TV and never miss a chapter in the world's most dangerous stories. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and remember, freedom and confinement are sometimes only a wall apart.